Hello and welcome back. Rob Vaughan Johnson spoke to us in 2011 about flying for Idi Amin in Uganda.
No, I do need to clear up the fact that I'm not trying to paint Amin as an angel. He was obviously nothing of the sort, and all I can talk about is the 2 years in which I knew him. I'm not going to try to defend in any way what happened later in Uganda. I'm just talking of the period that I was there and knew him. I've no doubt that he turned into the tyrant that we all heard about in due course.
When Rob immigrated to Australia, he flew sophisticated Sikorsky twin-engine S-76 multi-passenger helicopters here.
I later on flew for Okanagan with the Sikorsky 61s, and our continuation training exercises both with the Bristow helicopters and the Ansett ones. For water training, continuation trainings onto water, it's a very serious business flying a Sikorsky S-61M, and one needs to be properly equipped, of course. We were servicing a drilling rig, jack-up drilling rig, which was being towed down to Coburn Sound for overhaul when it ran into bad weather, and we had to evacuate the entire population, 52 men, and it must have been quite late in the proceedings because the rig was foundering and the helipad was uncomfortably close to the water. It was rolling phenomenally. The normal limit for helicopter landings was 5 degrees. Here we were knocking off about 30. We found there was a little period of about 10 seconds when you could land on and load passengers. Because they were all wearing marine life jackets, big bulky things, we could only load 10. We couldn't get a full 15 on board at any one time. However, we managed to get them all off. It was a bit hairy. Needless to say, these things always happen when there's a monstrous gale blowing. Fortunately, this one didn't happen at night, which would have otherwise been fairly normal. But it was a little bit exciting.
On one dramatic rescue in 1983, he was the last pilot to land on the seriously tilting deck of the Key Biscayne immediately before it turned over and sunk off Lancelin. He said, "I cannot accurately recall how many crew we pulled off, but the Okanagan Sikorsky can carry over 10 passengers. The deck of the oil rig was tilting about 30 degrees, so we had to keep flying even when we contacted the deck so that the drilling crew could get on board. 43 men were rescued by 3 helicopters from the disabled oil rig as it drifted helplessly towards treacherous reefs. It was pretty terrifying." "We're very glad you're here," said crane driver Morris Miles, who was cut around the face and suffered broken teeth when he crashed into the side of the rig during the rescue. The disabled Key Biscayne, a 50 million oil rig owned by Esso, had broken 2 tow lines as it was being pulled on a 2,100 mile trip from Darwin in northern Australia to Coburn on the west coast. 9 men of the 52-man crew voluntarily stayed on board the Key Biscayne so that they could reset the tow lines when the weather calmed. The rig was on the point of capsizing and drifted towards dangerous reefs in the 30-foot seas off Lancelin, which is 120 miles north of Perth, a Navy spokesman said. Attempts to land on the wallowing rig at first failed as its towering steel scaffolding pitched in the heavy seas. 2 Royal Australian Air Force helicopters fought the high winds and hovered over the rig as 4 men at a time came on board. 2 men were injured when attempts to reset the tow lines failed. One said, "It was that bad trying to get the line from the rig to the towboat that at one stage we were looking up at the twin screws of the towboat 30 foot above us. And the next thing, we were looking down at the towboat 30 feet below us. It was really frightening." The rig is a jack-up rig with 3 legs pointing in the air, so it was very hard for the helicopters to get close. Rig cleaner Tony Borgono, one of the last to be rescued, praised the flying skills of the pilots. Those blokes just came straight in. When I ran out, the door was shut because it looked like I was the last and there wasn't room, but at the last minute the pilot said, "One more," and they hauled me in by the collar, the 23-year-old Borgono said. The 43 rescued men rested in the small township of Lancelin before continuing the remaining 130 miles of their journey. Rob Vaughan Johnson said, "I can still see the picture in the West Australian newspaper of the 2 Bell 204 choppers hovering over the stricken oil rig with their rotors painted in black and white stripes for safety. If my memory serves me right, they were not able to land on the rocking oil rig and had to abort late in the rescue attempt." I'm not trying to discredit the Royal Air Force pilots' heroic acts of flying, but simply clarifying that I had more experience. The Okanagan S-76 excelled here to save the last 10 crew members. Thank you for watching. Please comment, like and subscribe to promote content.